What's going on, everybody?
Where is it?
Hopefully it didn't drive everybody out of the building, but obviously there's a lot of folks here for Atlanta United.
And MomoCon.
I was going to say, give a shout out if you're in from MomoCon as well. Or maybe both.
Maybe some of you are double dipping today.
Hey, yeah, double dip while you want to, because you gotta get your entertainment here in Atlanta.
Only legit double dipping, by the way.
That's true. That is true.
Hi, baby girl.
So, if you have suddenly found yourself in this bar and have no idea who we are, we are Scarves and Spikes. We're an Atlanta United podcast, MLS podcast. I'm Tyler Porter, Mrs. Sydney Hunt. We're one short today because he got a little sick, but we cover all things Atlanta United, MLS, soccer in general.
Well, who's sick?
Henry Higuita.
Henry is sick.
Yeah, Ache is sick.
Yeah, but Henry, I'm sure, is watching online. By the way, hello to those of you watching online. We do appreciate it. Looks like a couple of you are filing in. Matt, hello. I don't know if you're coming to the match, Matt. I don't know if you're coming here, but if you're not, you should be here. We have a hot mic. I'm going to turn this off since nobody's using it. There we go. Whoever else is watching online, let us know in the chat. But thanks to all of you joining us here at the Nassau Fort Bar, the Signia by Hilton Hotel. Thanks to them for hosting us as always. Tyler, Sunday Night Soccer, Atlanta United, FC Cincinnati.
This is, unfortunately, and I'm not going to be negative, because I think we can all safely say that we are not a negative show, podcast, website when it comes to soccer. But Atlanta United has not won a game since March, which is unfortunate. And they're struggling. Admittedly, they're struggling right now, and that's just the way it is. Soccer is a wonderful game that sucks sometimes, and we appreciate, and I'm sure the club appreciates the fact that you have so many fans that still come out and show up to this amazing stadium week in and week out, even when the team is struggling the way they are. But this is prime time, right? So for everybody that's not here and is watching from home, this is like MLS's brand new, their 2025 equivalent of Sunday Night Football.
Little new initiative, Sunday Night Soccer. Jake Zevin, Taylor Twellman on the call every week. Andrew Wiebe, he's their sideline reporter. He's usually out and about. Yep. Getting the scene of the supporters, tailgates and all that. I understand Michele Giannone is filling in for him this weekend. So Michele will be down there on the sidelines. Former guest with Scarves and Spikes, by the way. But we had Jake on the call, or not on the call, on the podcast the other day. Really enjoyed the conversation with him, even though I wasn't a part. But also good to have Jake on, but he'll be calling the match with Taylor. Taylor, by the way, just graduated from the University of...
I know. We have a graduate in Taylor Twellman. That's wild. It took him, what do you say, 25 years to get his degree, to finish his degree?
Yeah.
It took me a while too, so I get it. But no, so here's the deal. It's Sunday. It's Sunday afternoon. We're still going to have some fun. I'm going to give away at least a shot to somebody once we get to some trivia in a little bit. So you can Google, you can cheat. That's okay.
Pull those phones out.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a minute. I'll give you a hint. It's going to be related to Atlanta United and Cincinnati. So if you can find a connection there, you're already one step ahead of the game. But,
there we go.
We have a game to talk about. We have, unfortunately, a Atlanta United team that is struggling to score goals. They have spent more money in the offseason in the attack than any team in MLS history. You've got Latte Lath. You've got Miguel Almiron, who has made his return. Top three winger in the most. You have Alexei Marinchuk, who is probably one of the most divisive players I think I've ever seen with this team. And you have
Luis Araujo.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Alexei might have that belt at this point. And then, of course, you have Saba Lobjanidze. I want to talk about Saba real quick, because Saba seems to, taking the words of our good co-host, buddy Tommy, found himself on Marcelino Moreno Island, or Pineda Island, as it were. He has kind of worked his way in and out of the starting lineup. He was such a feature for the past year and a half, right? And then he kind of starts losing starting minutes. He's losing minutes in general. And Ronnie Dyler's trying to figure out something that's going to work and can't quite get it. And then all of a sudden, Saba's just missing time. And then he pops up a couple matches ago in the postseason press conference, and Ronnie Dalla says, well, Saba, his performances just haven't been what we need.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know if that's something that he's seeing in training, but he said numerous times, you got to train well, you got to play well. And maybe Saba is doing something in training that we haven't seen. I don't imagine what. I don't imagine if there's anything that he's doing in training. I mean, he just plays he just shows just so much effort whenever he hits the pitch. So I know that's kind of puzzling to hear him say that. I understand the formation kind of changed and Saba was kind of the odd man out. But again, for the reasons I just mentioned, the effort that he shows, it's not showing up on the score sheet. But, I mean, if you look at a lot of other players, you can probably say the same thing about them. The thing is, on this team, there can't really be any sacred cows, right? The entire team has to take accountability and say what we're doing is not working. That being said, though, there can't be, just one or two players that are, getting benched or being taken out of the starting 11 because, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, you got to take your pick as far as who can be taken out. But Saba has ended up there. We'll see if he starts tonight, but Saba's unfortunately ended up on that Pineda Island.
Yeah, Pineda Island.
Moreno Island.
When I think this has kind of been a recurring theme. When I talked to Michael Parkhurst, quick shout out for Michael Parkhurst because legend in Atlanta. When I had him on the show a few weeks ago, I asked him, like, if you had the reins just for a little bit, what would you do to fix this team? And he said there's a lot, obviously, little nuances, but the biggest thing was he would probably switch to a back three, and from there, go and probably play Saba and Alexei Miranchuk in that way that we've kind of talked about is that like number 8, that central midfielder. Miggy is the 10 because I think everybody more or less has agreed that Miggy's going to be a better 10 than he is a winger. But then that leaves kind of like a spot over to the right where you need to have your wing backs. And at the time, he was talking about having Brooks Lennon and Pedro Almodovar still on the pitch, which your odd man out at that point is Saba Lobjanidze. Do you think Ronnie Dialé is kind of looking at it the same way? Or do you feel like Ronnie is just throwing something now at the wall and seeing what sticks?
I think probably the latter because, like you said, this team hasn't won in so long. You want to get a lineup that is productive, that can gel. You hoped you had that with the players that you had out there already, but obviously we all know that hasn't worked. So I think Dyla, and maybe we'll talk about the comments that Garth Lagerway had concerning Dyla, concerning players on the roster currently, but maybe Dyla kind of feels the walls closing in on himself just a little bit. I'll go back to what I said. I wrote about it on scarvesandspikes.com. I'll go back to what I said. I think it's a good decision by Garth Lagerway to say, hey, he's not going anywhere because maybe it released a little bit of a pressure off of Dyla. And, it's even those 14 matches in, even though the team hasn't been performing well, I don't think it make a lot of sense to bring in another coach to help this year. I know some people say, why just bring in Valentino? Is he going to be your long-term solution? So you have to ask yourself that. But I think Dyla he's looking at his team saying, everything I've tried hasn't worked, so I have to go out and do something. I have to try something. Like you said, throw something at the wall, hope it sticks. It hasn't been sticking over the past
Not yet.
couple of months. Hopefully tonight, depending on what the lineup is that magic formula, but it's just, it's puzzling to see Atlanta United still in this form.
So there's another topic I want to hit on in a minute, and then we'll get to the trivia. But before I do any of that, so one other thing about, again, if y'all are kind of new, y'all have stumbled in here and found us.
I'm going to grab some wings real quick.
Yeah, randomly talking about soccer. We kind of pride ourselves on being a podcast that involves the fans, involves everybody that listens to us, that covers and follows the team. This mic, one of these mics, is open. If any of the fans want to get up here, you got a couple of minutes, you just want to chat, get involved in the conversation, give us your thoughts, no matter how spicy or non-spicy or mild or whatever you might have, you're more than welcome to get up here. With that being said, I said I was going to do trivia, and it related to Atlanta United and Cincinnati, and there were some people in our chat because obviously this is live right now, and they said, oh, it's probably something to do with Brandon Vasquez or Greg Garza. And those are very good guesses, but it is not. This has to do with Miles Robinson, who's a player you probably will see tonight, I imagine. So with that being said, Google is your friend here, and it is totally valid if you guys want to bust out Google. In 2019, how many weeks did Miles Robinson make the team of the week in Major League Soccer? And you can come up here. Just come up, give me the answer. Don't like screaming across the room, please, because then I won't see you. But come up here, give me the answer, and we'll get you a alcoholic shot. No, let me not say alcoholic beverage. A shot of your choice. All right. So think on it for a minute. Y'all come up here. Tommy coming in with the spicy take. There's going to be one game on the road trip where Atlanta loses by more than 3. So let's talk about that really quick. You keep eating your wings. I'm not taking you away from your spicy takes over there.
They're spicy, by the way.
Come on up here. If you got
Come up. I see your hand up. Tell us.
Here we go.
Miles Robinson.
Yep, I already see you holding up the numbers.
Of the week. I see a number being held up.
Hey, I told you could cheat. Google is your friend. So I don't want to put you on camera if you don't want to.
What's the answer?
What'd you say? 5 times.
5 times is the answer. What is your liquor of choice? Really?
Okay.
You know how many people we've done this for? Everybody's like, I keep
it's a weekend, so
yeah, it's like, oh, it's bourbon, or it's regular whiskey, or rum. We've had like 3 in a row that have all been, oh, it's tequila. People like to end up with less clothes in the bins. That's even better. That's even better.
Did you take Uber or MARTA down here?
No, we decided to spend the night this weekend.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, nice.
So you're double dipping with MomoCon and Atlanta United. That's perfect.
MomoCon and Atlanta United. There you go.
You're more than welcome to stay up here. I know we talked beforehand. That's totally fine. I just wanted to give the invite again, but I will get you some tequila.
Tequila is on the way. So what's your question? I'm sorry, you're asking a question.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember what my original question was.
The road trip. So,
yes.
So Atlanta United, and Tommy kind of jumped in here with his take. But Atlanta United, of course, after Wednesday, we'll have 6 matches away from Mercedes-Benz Stadium due to Club World Cup and all of that. So, obviously, the big question is, and Tyler, so I have to wait just for a moment, we'll get his take on it. But when you look at this away stretch coming up for Atlanta United, these aren't against teams that are slouches at all. And I've said this before, it'll kind of make or break Atlanta United's season. I feel like their season is already kind of broken at this time. So if you don't get a lot of wins during this stretch of away games coming up after Wednesday, and you obviously don't want to look ahead past tonight, past Wednesday, but if you don't get any wins on this away stretch coming up, you're in big trouble. Tommy said it's going to be one game where they lose by more than 3. But I'm interested, if you guys are in the chat, I'm interested in what you think, how many matches, how Atlanta United will do during the stretch. But again, don't really get too ahead of ourselves. You have 2 away matches coming up, or 2 home matches coming up, because this is at home. They have 2 matches coming up. I guess Cincinnati tonight, and then Orlando on Wednesday, the midweek. So I guess what's kind of your temperature check on these 2 matches coming up?
All right, so I guess this is going to be my monologue that I've repeated over the past week.
I'll step aside again.
No, you're good. Yeah, you go eat your wings.
In and out.
I've already been cooked on the internet for this take, but I thought the match against Philadelphia was not the worst thing in the world. I thought it was an improvement, and that's not to say that it's infinitely better by any means. We're at the point right in the season where a sports team has to start working their way up the standings. The rest of the crap doesn't matter. Atlanta United sitting essentially in what would be the relegation zone in any other league in the world. And so the moral victories, the feel-good moments, like none of that matters unless you're getting 3 points or at minimum a point. But when you're here inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium at this beautiful stadium, like one of the nicest in the world, there are so many people that send us messages all the time that say, man, I cannot wait to come visit that place. It seems like the coolest place in the world. And I think a lot of times it's easy for us, and I'm not going to speak for the players, but for people to take it for granted. And we use the word fortress all the time. This was the fortress in Major League Soccer the first 3 years that Atlanta United was around. And it's not that people want to harken back to those days necessarily, but they do. And they should feel like when you're home, you're pretty guaranteed that you're going to get something out of your game. This season has not been like that. And then even, honestly, going back to last season, it hasn't been like that. Last season, Atlanta was, I think it was 2 games, 2 wins better at home than they were on the road. And that's not good enough. Now, I mean, there's something to be said there for how they won on the road and then they went on the playoff run. That's great. But when you're here, you have to start racking up points. The Club World Cup is coming. It's going to be in this stadium in just a couple of weeks. And Atlanta's going to be on the road that entire time. You've got to start racking points up. So going back to the Philly match, I thought that they actually played better. It wasn't the best. But I felt like it was the only game all season where they played 90 minutes of at least somewhat competent soccer. They didn't, in like the 35th minute, they didn't turn off. The switch was never flipped. It never just felt like, oh, wow, they're doing okay, and then boom, they just fall apart. That really never happened. They had shots, they had chances, plenty in the first half. Maybe a little less in the second half, but they kind of grew back into the game after Philly scored the penalty, which was a wild moment in and of itself. But I thought overall, it was a better 90 minutes than we've seen previously. And if you can take that and build upon it and then come in here against Cincinnati tonight and give a good showing of yourself, I mean, at least that's something to hold on to.
Yeah, but excuse me. The problem is, though, you mentioned that you get punished by literally one mistake. You make one big mistake and you're punished at the passing of the match. So I agree with you. I was able to watch but the second half of that match, and I think they controlled Philadelphia well for the most part. That being said, I agree with what he said. You can't take away moral victories because moral victories don't get you points in the standings unless you win. So, I mean, you at this stage of the season, and it's 13, 14 matches in. You can't go in saying, it's early. It's not early. We're coming up on, before you know, we'll be halfway through the season. It's not early anymore. You have to start, like you said, really taking your opportunities when they come here. You have 2 great opportunities against 2 of the better teams of the Eastern Conference, and Cincinnati and Orlando coming up. This you can't afford to. Just say, hey, we look better. That's great, but what is better going to turn to 3 points?
Yeah, and we'll kind of touch back on what you were saying earlier, the article that you wrote on the website. Really quick shout out. If you guys have a moment, go follow us. Subscribe on YouTube and all that good stuff, as the kids say. Smash the like button, as it were.
Yeah.
No, go follow us. We appreciate it. It helps us a lot. Also, go visit the website, scarvesandspikes.com. But you wrote in kind of regards to Doug's article from the AJC about Garth saying that Ronnie Dial is safe. He's good.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans...
Well, let me ask you this, though. Do you agree with the decision to say, hey, he's good to go?
I do now. I do, because I think if people that watch our show on a consistent basis, like, you kind of see how I feel. I put this more personally on the players. I even wrote an article about it months ago. I think that now there's a lot of fault here to be put at the coaching staff, because at this point you got to figure it out. But the players are professional athletes. I mean, you gotta pull this motivation out of you. You can't rely on somebody else to do it for you. I think if you were to fire Ronnie Dyla, it might set this team back another year and a half, 2 years. Now, I do kind of agree, because we've had the conversation, and I know Tommy's probably in the middle of typing it right now on the internet. If you go to July 16th, I think it is, when Atlanta comes back to Mercedes-Benz Stadium after Wednesday. You have that whole six game streak, and you don't get anything in that time, or very minimal points. It's tough.
Have to have the conversation.
That's a very tough conversation now. Like, I don't know that anybody's safe at that point.
No.
Now that's still 8 games away from now,
Right?
but I mean, what you've seen hasn't given everybody a whole lot of hope that you're going to get much more out of those 8 games, because we know, and we preach about it all the time, and I get irritated about it, but I always say, winning in MLS on the road is one of the hardest things in soccer because of just the league and how big it is, but it is possible. So, to me, it's a cop-out. It frustrates me when I hear that, but I think you've dug yourself this hole now.
Now you have to dig yourself
out. Now you got to climb out of it, because you're deep in the hole.
Yeah.
I do think it does give Ronnie Dyla, at least you have the confidence to know that you don't have to be looking over your shoulder every 2 seconds wondering if you're going to have a job the next morning.
Yeah.
But did it right.
Yeah, exactly. You've been kind of given the lifeline by the front office saying, if you have a little wiggle room for now. But as he just said, if you go even more into the depths during the away stretch, you have to have a massive conversation about 2026, whether Ronnie Dyla belongs here in 2026, let alone the players. And we'll get to that too. Garth Lagerwey also said, the players aren't safe either, except the DPs, which I understand to the extent. I think Marinchuk is obviously a huge talking point, of course. I can see his perspective, but I think at the same time, you have to look at Alexi and say, is it worth keeping him on this roster for much longer?
Yeah, because you went in on Alexi in that article.
but the thing is, Garth Lagerwey said, we are back. When you signed this player, baby, when you signed this player, he came in with the full backing of Garth Lagerway. Now, here's the thing. He hasn't performed at all. Like, he had a little stretch at the end of last season. He's done next to nothing in 2025. How long are you going to keep this DP spot filled with a player who has yet to produce commensurate to the amount of money he's making? I know the salaries are coming out soon. I would think this week or something like that, unless they already came out. But I'd be interested to see how much he's making. It's not even close to what he should be making. He's not producing, and I think that option has to be on the table if you're Garth Lagerwey, when you look at this team come summer. And Chris Henderson, I'll throw Chris Henderson in there. That option has to be on the table.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, as far as Chris is concerned, like of him being in danger of any kind of like job issue, Chris got here in the end of December. He hasn't had time to do much of anything, really. But yeah, I mean, that being said, because I think it's honestly, it's a shorter list right now of who should be, in theory, safe on this roster than it is who shouldn't. So with that being said, in your opinion, who is safe?
Well, let's go down the ideal starting 11. Okay, Latte Lot, safe.
Yep.
Almiron, safe.
Yep.
Saba, what do you think, Saba? I'm on the fence.
In my opinion, or in what I
In your opinion.
In my opinion, Saba should still be here, because if you take away Saba, you're losing one of your only true wingers on the team.
I mean, you can get another one.
Yes.
Transfer.
Right, but as it stands right now, if you don't go and then get another winger, then you're SOL.
Yeah.
So I think Saba's safe, in my opinion.
All right, so Amador, I think he's safe, right?
So yeah, save Amador.
Stian, I think Stian, you have to look at him because his fitness has
Injuries.
An issue.
Yeah, we talked about it beforehand.
Yeah.
Love Stian Vith, but he can't stay on the field.
Yeah. Derek Williams, what do you think?
Derek is a weird one to me, because I like Derek, but he's been so up and down this season. But I like that he gives you a little bit more of a veteran presence, and I think I take him. And I say, it's weird for me to say this, but over Luis Abram, though Luis has had better performances over the past few matches,
Right.
the amount of money that he's making, the fact that he's gone every international break, and he's near the end of his contract anyway, I just don't think you can hang on to him.
Yeah, I agree with. So Abram, let's go to Abram. Yeah, I agree with you. I think you do try to move him in the window so you don't lose him for nothing. That way you have that cash freed up for the rest of the season. You want to bring somebody else in. Brooks Lennon, what do you think about Brooks Lennon? I think, I don't know if you keep him.
Brooks is a tough one.
Yeah.
Brooks Lennon, I think, and I love Brooks to death, but I think you got to find another wingback. Another starting wingback.
I agree.
And I don't know that Matt Edwards is going to be the guy that just is like right now in that spot. Right. But I like what I've seen out of Matt. But I think you can go out and find somebody that's going to give you a little bit more than Brooks has. Yeah. He hasn't been as consistent as he was, honestly, since 2023.
Definitely. How about the midfield? Tristan Muyumba, keep or sell? I
will say keep.
Okay.
And I say that because I do, though he has been up and down, and though he's had some zingers.
Yeah.
He's had some good games. But I see now, especially after talking to him, where his head is at relative to where it was last year. And I think you still want to keep one of the veteran guys, and Muyumba is that. And I think there's other qualities that the team needs that you get out of Tristan that you're not going to get out of the rest of the midfield.
Yeah. I think he tried to sell him. I think, he's obviously injured, but I think he's kind of renewed his value. So I think you can get something out of him, or you can get something for him. Maybe you put out trade feelers for him to see if there's another team around the league that wants him.
Do something like you did with Shonda Silva.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe you can do that with them. I just lost my train of thought.
Let's go to Slish.
Slish. Bartek Slish.
I think you keep Slish. I do. And you have to lump the entire midfield kind of together because it's so weird. There's so many. I think you keep Slish, and I think there's one more that you get rid of, and then there's one more that you keep.
Yeah. I'm on the fence. I think if you could get a return for Slish, that being said, he hasn't been here super long.
He came in at the beginning of last season.
I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him, though. I wouldn't be opposed to keeping Bartek Slish. Mateusz Klich, too early, right?
I don't think it's too early because you only have him for a year with the contract that you have him on right now. If you bring Mateusz Klich back, then
essentially have to keep him.
You have to keep him and somehow convince him to not be a DP anymore because DC is paying the DP money right now. Yeah. I don't think you do. And I like him. I do. I think he has flashes, but it hasn't been enough for me.
Right.
So, and then the other one would be Jay.
Jay Fortune, definitely keep.
Keep, 100%.
He's the future of midfield.
Yeah.
I think he's still on his, not rookie deal, but I think he's still on this initial contract with enough. I think you extend him.
Yeah.
You keep him into this team. He plays for the badge. He's still young. He still has room to grow, but I think he can be a solid contributor for the midfield for Atlanta United. Noah Cobb, we forgot him in the back line.
100%.
Definitely keep.
Noah Cobb stays until he wants to go, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. Edwin Mosquera, I think you sell him.
Yeah, I think you move on from him.
I feel like he's kind of leaning toward a move out. He's not been able to play all that much. The team is losing. I think he sees it's probably in his best interest to look for opportunities elsewhere. Definitely Colombia. Narios has been a team that's come up. A lot of some other clubs down there. So I think he does go back home to Colombia when it's all said and done.
Yeah, like you said, he's posted his desires to go back to his home country, to Millonarios or whatever club, it may be. But I think I like the kid. I had the bet going on with Doug a couple of years ago when he first got here. Doug still owes me sushi, but he's been so up and down. He started off this season great with that banger early in the, but I think Edwin is a guy that is perfect to come on late matches, run at tired legs.
Right.
But there's so many other issues with the team right now that you can't rely on that. So, Edwin is one I think you can move on from. What about Jamal Tiare?
Tiare, I think you hold on to Jamal. I know we're going to talk about Togashi in a little bit, but I think Jamal you hold on to. He knows the team. He's been around for several years. he's a different striker than Latte Lot. And obviously his fitness has been a little shaky, or a lot shaky over his time here. But I think when healthy, he gives you a dimension that other keeper or other strikers can't give you. So I say you hold on to him.
I feel like you keep him. I also feel like his minutes this year have been much cleaner than in his past year, going back to late 2023. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think my first reaction is keep Cayman Togashi.
Yeah,
Togashi's killing it with the twos right now.
Yeah,
he hasn't had any real time to show what he can do with the first team, and I wish he would, because I do feel like he's going to offer you something that Jamal Tiare doesn't.
Yeah,
but based on what we have seen, it would be weird to go and then remove a guy that seems to be slowly working his way into better form in Jamal Tiare, that you know what you're getting out of. I don't know, man. Screw it. Keep Cayman. I'm not getting rid of Cayman.
And then Togashi, we're saying both keep, right?
Yeah, just keep them both.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about strikers for at least a year.
Ronald Hernandez.
Man, keep him just for the vibes.
Yeah, I agree.
Keep him like that guy is one of like 3 or 4 on this roster that will go out and bleed red, black, and gold. You can't get rid of Ronald.
People say get rid of everybody that's been here after 2019 or 2020. I don't agree with that. That's just kind of a bit of a shallow take. Ronald,
I agree with why people feel that
way. But Ronald, to your point, he's been around for a while. He knows the team inside and out. I think he's really got it integrated into Atlanta. I think he and his wife have 2 young children or something like that.
Yeah.
That really got integrated to Atlanta. So I think you hold on to him. Sab, I'm trying to see who else we left out.
While you do that, I'll hit on the chat real quick. I mean, let's see. Brett
That's
saying
kind of quiet, by the way.
Jay stays. Dan saying get rid of Miyamba. He's blocking Fortune. What about Will Riley? Dan brought up Will Riley. Will Riley's got to stay. I mean, he just got to.
Yeah,
he just got his shout.
Let's assume all the homegrowns stay.
But I mean,
all the homegrowns.
100%. But really quick, you've seen Will Riley for a grand total of like 55 minutes this season or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And those were 55 minutes of my life that I enjoyed when it came to Atlanta United.
Yeah,
it made me happy. I think you keep Will Riley. I think he brings a little bit of an edge that has otherwise been missing from this midfield.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I mean, forgot Greg is there.
Brad.
I think this is it for Brad. This is his last season. He's been around since not day one, but since the first year of this club, 2017, middle of the season. I think the club understands that they need to turn the page as far as keeper is concerned. You have options, obviously. You have Hibbert, you have Cohen, you have those guys on the sheet.
But then the question is, does Cohen? Do you just slot him right in? Do you slot Jaden Hibbert in? Or do you
question?
Do you then maybe, because I don't think Jaden Hibbert doesn't need to go anywhere. I'll give you that's my real quick take. But do you keep Cohen or do you get rid of Cohen and try to snag somebody else?
I think if you could get somebody who has starting experience in MLS, you go for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind to see Cohen, as starting keeper in 2026. Again, he hasn't played barely any in 2025, so that's obviously the big question. But yeah, I think that's where you see things, unless you can get a keeper who is proven, or someone else overseas. Maybe a TAM keeper.
I ran into one of the capos for one of the supporters groups randomly at a store the other day. The day I got my tattoo, actually, and he shouted me out. We got to talking. He wants Ethan Horvath, and keep eating your chicken wings. But I think that's the biggest difference that you have right now between like Cohen and Hibbert, and then another younger goalkeeper. Yeah, I would like to see maybe one more really good solution for a year before you give Jaden Hibbert the reins. if Jaden Hibbert's going to be your guy for at least somewhat long term, you've got to start giving him time. I don't think you can just throw him into the fire to be right in the shadow of Brad Guzan, though, because Brad he's a club legend. He's been here literally since almost the beginning. And, now that Miggy's back, he and Miggy are the two that were here in 2018 when they won the Cup. But Brad's the only one that's been here this whole time. So do you want to throw him into the shadow of Brad? Which, I don't know. Honestly, it might be a good thing. Because some fans are very divided about Brad Guzan. Some fans look at Brad and they're like, hey, man, move on from him. He's 40. He needs to go. I think Brad Guzan is the least of my concern on this roster right now.
Brad Guzan is not the problem.
He's not the problem. But I think you want to give Jaden a little bit of time to ease into things. But I like Jaden Hibbert. I like him a lot. I like his athleticism. I like how confident he is playing, outside of his box with his feet, with both feet.
Yeah.
So it's a future problem, but it's one that you're going to have to tackle sooner than later. And, I would like to see if Josh Cohen can get some consistent time, I think he can do it.
Yeah, loan him out. So at least he's starting.
Yeah. But then again, you're sticking Jaden on the bench, and then he's not getting time with the two. So
yeah, that's true.
It is a conundrum. But honestly, again, that's tomorrow's conundrum. The conundrum tonight is how Atlanta United is going to play against Cincinnati.
Real quick, is Horvath still the Forest or? I forgot.
Think so.
I gotta look it up.
I feel like we were tracking him so much the year before last because we were like, hey.
Sort of followed out as the U.S. keeper.
Yeah.
I feel like. No, he's with Cardiff City now.
Cardiff City, okay.
Cardiff City now. He hasn't been before since last year, so. But they loaned him to Luton Town, so that's where his trajectory has been.
All right, so then jumping back to tonight. You have both Atlanta United and Cincinnati, both coaches coming off. Now, Cincinnati, relatively speaking, is in much better shape than Atlanta United is. But both teams are kind of coming off performances where the coach looked at them and said, hey, we're way better than that. Now, Ronnie Dowell's been saying it for a long time. Pat Noonan has been saying it only for a couple weeks. But he came out frustrated after the most recent match. Well, here we are. It's Sunday Night Soccer. It's, the quote-unquote primetime moment for MLS. Atlanta's got something to prove. Cincinnati's just trying to continue fighting in the gauntlet that is the top of the East. So what do you expect Pat Noonan to tell his guys to come out and do tonight at the Benz, considering how Atlanta's been playing lately?
Win.
That's the easy answer, yes.
Yeah, no, it is. But no, they obviously drew Columbus 1-1, Hollisville last year. Obviously, that's their big match every year. But no, if you look at the standings right now, they're a point behind Philadelphia with a match in hand. So they understand that if they win tonight, they'll be at the top of the East. So they understand what this means for seeding in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, it's still 15 matches in. Still a long way to go. But I think Pat Noonan understands, hey, like you said, you played a derby last week, derby of derbies really, and you have to settle for a draw. And I think if you look at that, you have to say, yeah, it's not good enough. So they'll be out to kind of avenge that and try to get themselves back in winning ways. I think if they win decisively, a lot of folks will say, this is the FC Cincinnati team that we expected. I think if they come out with anything less than a win, I think there will be some question to ask if you're an FC Cincinnati fan. We came into Atlanta United, a team that hasn't won in the past 8 matches, and we drew them or we lost to them. So I think there's some of that pressure on Cincinnati to make sure that they take care of business. They're looking at it as, and Noonan won't say it, but they're looking at it as, this is a team we should handle pretty easily. And if they don't, like I said, there'll be some questions.
So do you think all the goodwill has flown out of this stadium in the sense that an opposing coach should be that confident coming to Mercedes-Benz Stadium to get 3 points?
Again, I think if you're Noonan, I don't think you'll admit that out loud.
Okay, that's fair.
You'll admit, the players won't admit that. The players will say, no, we have to take every match the same way. We have to take it seriously. And I think they will. I think they understand that. But I think, again, they understand, hey, we're up here, Atlanta's down here, and we have to take care of business.
Yeah. No, I mean that's
what I
fair.
feel.
I think, yeah, on paper right now, I mean, obviously Cincinnati's the much better team. It's unfortunate, for everybody that's sitting in this bar right now and everybody that's getting ready to go into the bins, but that should be the only thing now on Dyla's mind. We go back to the conversation we had earlier about Garth Lagerway giving Ronnie Dyla his comfort, his vote of confidence,
quote unquote.
He doesn't have to worry about could I be getting sacked tomorrow if things don't go well. He's got at least a buffer. Now, how long that lasts, I don't know, but now, hey man, you got to go into the lab and start figuring out what you got to cook because what you're cooking right now, the spaghetti ain't sticking to the wall. It's not happening. So you got to figure something out.
Just give me an upset stomach. It's what it's.
Yeah, no, for real. Every week.
Yeah.
So while you pull that up real quick, a lot of people just joining, just coming in. If anybody wants to hop up here, give your thoughts, give your takes on Atlanta United. Or, I mean, heck, if you don't want to come here and talk about MomoCon, I don't even care. But yeah, you can get up here. We'll give you a mic for a few minutes. We'll chat. We'll talk. And you can give us your thoughts on the game and what you kind of expect to see.
We'll get you out of here, by the way, before kickoff.
Yeah,
Kickoff's around, 7:10?
17 kickoff.
20 till 6 right now. So
we're going to cover the lineups, and then we'll get you guys rolling for sure.
Yeah. But, I was just looking at, again, these matches coming up. Obviously tonight, then you have Orlando Wednesday, you have Red Bull Saturday, and then you have this break, the international break coming up before you go back out there on June 12th against NYCFC. So you obviously don't want to go to this long extended break on the wrong foot if you're a Lady United. So maybe that adds a little more. I mean, you have to be already urgent. If you're a Lady United, but maybe that's a little more urgency to a really important stretch for them coming up.
Yeah, it's like I said before. If you look at almost any other soccer league in the world, just take a look at the standings where Atlanta's at right now. You're sitting in a relegation zone, and to me, that should be eye-opening from a coaching standpoint, from a fan standpoint. Like, we would be having a totally different conversation if we lived in England or Spain or any other. The team was playing so bad that they could be. And look at it that way, it just kind of sheds a totally different light on the situation building behind us. They have, just the $50 million in the attack that they spent the last 8 months, and here they are sitting barely above a team that hasn't even won a game in Major League Soccer yet. Now they've tried. They've given some teams a run for their money, but that's just the reality of the situation. So if you can't figure out something drastically different, we talk about wholesale changes a lot on the show and how typically they're not the best move.
Right.
I mean, now might be the time for some wholesale changes. Like, it might be time to do something really, really crazy. I mean, really crazy. Like, people, shout all the time on our show and on Spaces, everything else. Play the kids. Play the kids. Play the kids. Play the Luke Brennans. Keep playing Matt Edwards.
A couple of them tonight.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure you'll see Matt. I'm sure you'll see Noah Cobb. But you need to be seeing Luke Brennan. Obviously, you see more Jay Fortune. Like, Will Riley, we talked about. They're hungry. And sometimes in sports, man, it's just about being hungry. Look, and this might be a bad comparison, but you got a guy that just came back to another sport here in Atlanta who, though he is a superstar, I will give you that. That man is hungry every single day that he plays, named Ronald Acuna.
Oh, my God.
This man steps back to the plate, first pitch, and drills one.
As a Mets fan, you just got to tip the cap. Just tip the cap.
Yeah. But
scripted.
Hey man, the script writer's a business decision. But no, I mean,
write a script for Atlanta United,
please.
please.
Yeah, please, a good script for Atlanta United. But no, the thing is, it's just you see the hunger out of a guy like that just he cannot. And when Joseph Martinez was here, Ronald Acuna and him they were great friends, And they were very similar personalities. They were just constantly hungry to win. They hated losing. They hated even being anywhere close to being considered bad, or the team that they played for considered bad. And that oozes off on everybody else. And then you go and you look at some of these guys, these young guys that are playing for the team right now. They're hungry. They want to play. You see them in the locker room after the game, if they played or if they even only played, a handful of minutes,
Right.
and they're pissed. They're not nonchalant walking around. They're angry. They're upset. And it's like, because they feel like I could have done more than the guy getting paid 4 times the amount of money I'm getting paid if I had just seen the pitch for any amount of time. So, yeah, we talk about dramatic wholesale changes. Dude, play the kids. Play them.
At what stage do you do that, though?
I don't care. Play right now. Right now. Starting 11 when we get it in 15 minutes, maybe.
17 minutes.
I want to see all of them, because you don't have anything to lose at this point. You're not going to do any worse than you are right now. You're almost at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I mean, give it some time. Give it some time.
No.
Maybe if you're eliminated from the playoff race.
No, see, but then you don't have anything to fight for.
Right.
Well, they're hungry because they want to eat. If you eliminated from the playoffs, you're not hungry anymore.
We'll see. We'll see.
Play the kids. Play the kids. That's my statement for the day. Play the kids.
We'll see. That one say, depending on how this game goes, yes. So the key is in favor of play the kids. So yeah, I'm trying to get the chat up here. There it is. Getting this show up. I was clicking on the wrong thing. Dan saying, do I listen to the twos tonight? The twos, this is like the second match on the road. Just kind of sidebarring just a little bit. Second match on the road, I think. The Twos have been pushed back because of what I
they had to change the venue entirely.
Yeah, what I assumed are field conditions.
They did put out for this last game, so it can be talked about. But yes, the field conditions weren't up to par.
Now it's being played in Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it throws the schedule off in a weird way, and you go from having, X number of home games and X number of away games, and they still consider the ones that get pushed away from home games, and that's doesn't really work that way. But I mean, it's not the Twos' fault.
Yeah, I think they got a point against Crown Legacy. That match you were supposed to be played at fifth third too.
That was supposed to be a fifth third. They played Crown Legacy. They had to go up to North Carolina to play a home game, and they scored early. Came in Togashi. Speak of the devil.
Yep.
Scored. Then they went down, and then Javier Armas scored very late in the second half to push the penalty shootout, and then they ended up losing the penalty shootout.
So the Twos playing tonight again against Orlando City B.
Yep.
At Osceola Heritage Park down there in Central Florida.
Yeah.
So I don't know if y'all want to keep track of that, keep track of how the kids are doing.
But I answered Dan's question. I mean, it's definitely worth keeping an eye and an ear to him, again, because you have guys like Cayman Togashi that are doing something every game, it seems like. Yeah, Javier Armas, who was doing something just about every game. And you got a handful of players that are really coming into their own, with the Twos, and it's exciting to see, and that's why I'd say play the kids.
Yeah,
play the kids.
Yeah, we'll see what happens and how soon it will be before we play them. Seeing if we get other comments here. Comments, again, have been a little quiet tonight. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure a lot of folks are on vacation tonight. I wonder how the turnout will be this evening. It looks like a good amount of fans are over there, but not like lines full of people outside.
Yeah, it's starting to build up. I will say we put out the attendance about the 60th minute or so in every match. The attendance is simply the amount of tickets sold, right? This is not the amount of people sitting in a seat.
Right.
So we have to say that.
Yeah.
But typically it sits around 43 and a half.
Yeah.
Typically. Last weekend, it was about 3,000 less than that.
Yeah.
Which is not a encouraging sign, but it's one game. Sunday night, though, I understand there might be more people watching at home because it's Sunday night soccer and all.
Yeah.
But as far as people showing up, on a Sunday night, I don't know that that's going to be a great thing for the attendance inside the stadium.
Because the Braves are at home earlier today. MomoCon, so you got a lot going on. So.
We get some MomoCon folks to come over, maybe by proxy.
Yeah. Let's talk about lineup predictions. Now we have a few minutes. Brett asking about lineup predictions. So We know William Bob's going to be out. Lennon's going to be out. Stiana are going to be out. Tyler had to step away just a little bit, so we'll get his in just a moment. Tyler's like rubbing elbows and shaking hands. It's like a man of the people over there. Matt, one of our Patreon subscribers, has just jumped in. Tyler's saying hello to him just quickly. I'm stalling just as he continues to. I'm going to keep going. Lineup predictions. So, lot starting, I'm sure. Almiron starting, I'm sure. Saba. I will start Saba. Come on in. I'll keep going. So, I think the question is, do we go back to the 3-man back line? Let's let it go back to the 3-man back line. I say you do. Do we go back to the 3-man back line if you're Atlanta United?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Do you start Cobb, Williams, and Amador back there? What are you thinking?
I would. Well, no. I'm sorry. No. I think you do Cobb, Williams, Abram with Amador as kind of your – because I envision a 3-5-2.
Left winger back?
Yeah. And so he falls back when he needs to, but he gets to play a little bit higher, which is, I think you want that out of Pedro.
Who do you play on the right?
I'm going to stick Matt Edwards there again.
Matt Edwards?
Yeah. I mean, Brooks Lennon's out anyway, but even if he weren't, I'm not going to lie. I would put Matt Edwards right there over Brooks, at least for the next 2 matches.
What about midfield? Do you put Leach and Cleek back there?
Nope. It's too slow.
Oh.
It's too slow. I think you go. I think you go Jay, Fortune, and one of the others.
I'd
probably Slish.
Slish over.
Because again, Muyumba's out. Muyumba, he tore another ligament or messed up another ligament in his knee that nobody's ever heard of. Thankfully, it's not the bad one that tends to ruin things.
Yeah.
But he's out for a while. So I think you go with Slish and say, hey man, your job is to sit here and be a bulldog while Jay gets to go run around like a madman.
And then up top, I mean, nothing much changes. Latte Lot, Almiron, Saba. Do you bring Saba in?
I think Latte Loth. I think Saba and Miggy. And that leaves out Alexi.
You bet to Alexi?
I'm not betting Alexi. Oh, bench. Yes. Yeah. I'm not. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. But at this point, I think, hey, bring Alexi on. And I mean, I think he needs to play.
Yeah.
But I don't think he needs to start every game.
Yeah.
Like, you had the conversation earlier, but you haven't given this team enough as a designated player to show why you're getting the start every single week. I understand, in the past, like you didn't have another number 10. You didn't have another attacking midfielder that was there that could fill in, but you do now. You have Miguel Almiron. And look, has he been perfect? Not even kind of. But he at least gives you something a little more dynamic than Alexei Miranchuk has.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of weird thing they did against Philly where you had Alexei kind of floating back a little bit and Miggy kind of floating back on the other side a little bit, and they almost operated as like dual number 10s.
Right. That
actually kind of worked a little bit, and I would be interested to see a little bit more of that. But of course, then you're losing somebody else in midfield.
Yeah.
And then you're subsequently going to lose some of your defensive capabilities if you play Alexei. I think you let him sit this one out. I think Cincinnati's midfield is a little too strong for it.
Yeah, you got to do something to take care of Evander. You got to do something to take care of Denkey because those are your two dynamic players, and the two of them are trying to build chemistry just a little bit. Denkey versus Latte Lot, I think let's talk about that. Like, why is Denkey performing at a little bit higher level than Latte Lot? Obviously, service is a big thing, but
I mean, the whole team is a little more coherent.
Yeah. But I think if you're looking at Atlanta, if you're looking at, hey, we brought in Latte Lot for $22 million and Denkey for what was it, 18, 15, 20, it certainly looks like Evander too. But it looks like Denkey is giving you a little bit more, not a little bit more, but a lot more bang for your buck at this point in time. And fans I'm sure will start to notice that and say, hey, Latte a lot hasn't scored in X number of matches, but here's Denkey pushing up the Golden Boot race. So, definitely talking about him, sure.
The thing about it is Latte Life shot out of a cannon, and it was almost in spite of everything going on. And I feel like if the team could just kind of get their head screwed on straight, then he would be sitting easily atop the Golden Boot race. There's moments too though where it seems like the team doesn't know how to operate with him, because he's more than capable of making things happen on his own. He's completely capable of, getting on the end of a ball, taking on guys 1v1, getting around them, and then sending in a ball to the box, but there's nobody there to help him out.
I get the sense, though, that he's to what would be a player that kind of takes things into his own hands when things start happening. There's a risk in that because I'll just slide over here. There's a risk in that. That's a risk because you don't want him just thinking he needs to do everything on his own. But at the same time, do you look for him to say, hey, I'm the striker. They paid a lot of money to bring me here. I got to start taking things into my own hands. I got to start taking the match by the scruff of the neck. And
do you feel like he's not trying to do that?
No, I'm not saying that. But you have players on some teams that you can count on them every single time, despite the performance of the team. And I'm just seeing, do we see more of that from Latte Lot?
I think you should.
He has that clutch takeover gene.
That's an interesting question, because you've seen a handful of DPs and otherwise at this team over the years that do have it. My boy Marcelino Moreno was one of them. That man was clutch for all the other issues that people like to talk about him. He would come through when it mattered, and I don't know that you've seen many guys that have done that. Honestly, if being completely fair, this team back in 2023 and to a degree early 2024, the whole team had it. They would fiddle around for 75 minutes and all of a sudden pump, the gas in the final 15 and go and run the game.
Yeah.
You don't have any of that right now. But your designated players have to step up. So when we talk about Alexei Miranchuk, it's not just him. It's Miggy. It's Latte Life. These guys have got to come in. And at some point, you've got to grab the game and go make something happen when the rest of your team isn't.
Yeah, for sure. Just waiting on lineups to come out. It's almost 6 o'clock. Again, we'll get you guys out by kickoff time. I think 7:10 kickoff at Mercedes-Benz Stadium or thereabouts. Just real quick, looking at the other matches around the MLS schedule, I know NYCFC played earlier tonight, and Atlanta United will be playing them. NYC beating Chicago 3-1. But
those are two of the most inconsistent teams I've ever seen.
Yeah, but no, if you look at some of the matches from this weekend, what scoreline kind of stands up to you, or what are a couple of scorelines?
The first one that stands out to me mainly was the Philly-Miami 3-3 draw. Philly continues to disappoint me in every way possible. They had the game in the bag.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi scores in the 86th minute off of patented free kick. You're not going to stop that. I'm not mad at it. That makes it 3-2. Right. And then they give up an equalizer in the 90 plus 5th minute to make it 3-3.
Yeah.
Miami fans aren't happy about it, but Philly fans are definitely not happy about it. You're never happy when you blow a two-goal lead. But I think Javier Mascherano is a fraud.
Does he last the season? Does
Mascherano? Yeah, I don't think they get rid of him.
Is he back in 2026?
Yes, because I think Messi's going to be back here, and Messi's the one running that team right now. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think Javier Mascherano, being completely as objective as I can, this is my opinion. I don't think he's the right coach. I don't think he's a good coach at this point in time. All the criticism of Gonzalo Pineda over the 3 years that he was here, you should be giving Javier Mascherano a lot of the same stuff, because it's one thing, like Mascherano, he coached the Argentine U22s, and he was terrible. He was terrible at it. And so, he's got national team experience, but he sucked. So that doesn't really qualify him any more than another
first time. He was coaching, Look at the results.
So I say all that to say I don't think they're going to get rid of him. Because to me, he's a puppet. That's my hot take.
I don't know if Beckham gets in Messi's ear and says, "Hey, we gotta move on from him." But their keeper, what's his name again? I forget. He's not really good.
No, that's the thing. That's part of the problem. They're going through injuries and everything else with their keeper position. But their defense has always been suspect down in Miami. That's
Right.
unfortunately something they found out the hard way against Atlanta in the playoffs last year. But
I was told it would be better this year.
yeah, and to be fair, it kind of was for a little bit. But we all kept saying those older legs are going to tire out eventually.
Yeah.
And when you've got them all on the pitch, you're losing players in the defense because they're not going to track back and defend.
Yeah. I was going to talk about Charlotte finally winning. I was going to talk about LA Galaxy choking again. The lineups are out, Tyler.
Let's talk about lineups.
I'm waiting for them to load on my phone. So
Pesky internet.
we'll get them eventually loaded up to you. But lineups are out. By the way, while we do that, shout out to Sweetwater Brewing Company for their support of Scarves and Spikes. Go to sweetwaterbrew.com for more information and where to buy their products. I'm being told lineups are out. That's what it says in the chat. Oh,
There we
they
go.
are out. They are out. So here's what we have. It's showing up as a back four. Amador on the left, Edwards on the right, Williams and Brown in the middle, Salisha Fortune in midfield, like you said, and then looking at the forwards, Lobjanitsa and Saba and the right, or Saba and Miggy left and right respectively. Miranchuk back in the middle, and then
Latte Loft up top. Yeah.
for Atlanta United. So a couple that you hit on, but it looks like going more traditional lineup. But yes, what are your thoughts?
I don't like the way this team plays in a back four, personally. I like the back. I like a 4-2-3-1 normally.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been a little burned by it over the past couple seasons. I do, in general, think some variation of it, 4-3-3, whatever,
Right.
is the most balanced formation that you can play in soccer. I think Atlanta United actually have so many players that though they are on the sheet, they're defenders. This team likes to get forward. Everybody likes to get forward.
Yep.
So by nature, giving that extra number in the back helps you out defensively, but it allows everybody to get forward and be an extra number in the box.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm thrilled with this because what's going to happen is you talked about Denkey earlier.
Right.
Got Evander.
Yep.
You've got guys that are going to eat that left hand, their left hand, Atlanta's right side alive.
Yeah.
I like that Matt Edwards is getting the shout. Slish is going to have to be over there and really, really help because Evander and Denkey are going to operate on that side.
Yeah.
So you've got to, they're going to have to shore up that defense on that far side.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people are asking why not Fortune starting. You get your wish. He is starting in the midfield.
Yeah.
I want to see how this lineup looks when the match progresses. Do we see players get forward? Do we see players kind of shift positions? Do we see that back four kind of morph to back three? Do we see Amador kind of pushing further up into the left and try to create chances that way as a more of a winger kind of player?
I would
we see
expect
maybe
it.
dip into the midfield a little bit.
I think, especially with your wing backs, like if Matt Edwards and Pedro Amador aren't getting forward as much as possible, then it's broken because they have to. You've got to get those numbers forward. Now, they both can't get forward at the same time, or you're leaving just two center backs back there in front of Brady's hand. But you've got to be balanced with it, and this is kind of where that flip flopping of formations kind of is a little bit of a gamble, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so used to playing one way, then you swap it to another way. You've got back three, then you got a back four.
Right.
It changes things up, and so if they're not prepared for it, it is very easy to have a mental lapse at any moment and say, "Well, I thought that guy was back there as that third center back, so I went forward." And then all of a sudden, you look across the pitch and you see that guy up there alongside you, and you're like, "Oh crap, we've left up the back door, quote unquote, wide open." So,
Well, I think that's it.
I think that's it. Quick shout out again to the Nest on 4 Bar, the Signia by Hilton Atlanta Hotel. We appreciate y'all hosting us. As usual, this, again, for everybody that just showed up, we are an Atlanta United podcast, Scarves and Spikes. We'd appreciate it if you guys would go do the whole, smash the like button. Go subscribe on YouTube. It helps us out. Also, we're going to be back for just about every Club World Cup match that is played in this building over the next couple of weeks. So
check our social media for more information with
absolutely
those dates and all that. But shout out to Sweetwater. Sweetwater too, but that's not for here at Signia Atlanta for hosting us tonight.
And shout out to MomoCon, because I know there's a lot of MomoCon folks in here right now. So Atlanta's always a happening place. We appreciate it, everybody.
Yes.
And we will talk to